My gut was telling me something, and now it's just like my gutometer's like way over here going, you idiot. These people are trashing your place, and you've got very little ability to get them out because they've got a signed 1 year lease. Like, I want to share this as a warning to you. Hey everybody, Cam Roland here. Great to see you on this day. And it's a great day. Hope you're taking advantage of the opportunities that are before you. So I wanted to bring to your attention an experience that I've recently had. I've had it before, but this one just stuck out for me. And it goes along the lines of having a vacant rental property, wanting to fill it, but being aware of who I'm filling it with, right? Because I've talked with lots of investors, lots of landlords who get, tired, and they get beat down a little bit with a couple of bad tenants or a couple major expenses on the property that they weren't expecting. And now they've got a property. It's nice, but it's sitting vacant and it's costing them monthly. And so they just want to have somebody in there paying the bills. Do you have a heartbeat? Do you have a checking account? You can prove to me that you've got money in there, all that sort of stuff. And oftentimes they'll just put them in, which creates a bigger problem down the road, right? So that's just the start of a snowball effect where you've got a little problem in that you've got a vacant property that you're carrying the cost for, to putting in a tenant who you think is good but turns out to be bad, creates more damage, pays less rent than what they agreed to if they're paying anything at all, and it just makes the problem worse. So I'm showing this property here this last 2 weeks, and have had lots of good viewings, and I always try to cluster my viewings together. I'm showing it again tonight, and I think I've got 7 different parties coming within an hour of each other. So it maximizes my time and it creates a demand for the property there on site. But I had a showing with somebody last week, and maybe the first clue was that they were, 45 minutes late to the showing. It happens, winter. Um, but so they show up, seem very nice, and some people are wearing masks, so you don't always get to see their faces. I'm not wearing a mask when I'm showing them, and I always, clear it with them. Everyone's been fine with that. So they look nice, they dress respectable, they were respectful in the way that they talked and asked some really good questions. And I thought, wow, this could be really good. But I had a couple red flags pop up. And this is what I call, your gut feel for people. There's another word for it I've got. It's called gutometer. What's your gutometer saying? And so my gutometer was probably about here with these guys, and it really revolved around probably 2 or 3 things. One was if we give you cash tonight for the deposit, will you accept as your tenants? They hadn't filled out anything yet. That's red flag number one. The second one was we can pay you 2 months rent up front. Well, why? Why would you need to pay me 2 months up front? Is that an attraction to me? Well, maybe if I'm going to get, $3,000 plus damage deposit all at once, that's pretty attractive. Now, I can't remember if they used cash or not, like the term cash, but I've heard that before, and I've heard it from people that that soon as I meet them, I've got some red flags. When I met these guys, I didn't really have any red flags, but then when they started talking about that, so I was processing their file, and they had sent some stuff in, and she had rented before, and he said, he's from out of the city, and it hasn't had any rental references before. He's younger. And I was like, well, that shouldn't be a problem. But in my mind, I'm going, well, I'll just do my normal due diligence background checks. And so I follow up with her rental agency. And sometimes with these bigger rental agencies, you can't talk to the right person who has information. And with all the privacy laws and stuff, you've got to have approval from the former tenant, all that sort of stuff. So I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and I did a bunch of my background search, and I couldn't find anything on the tenancy branch site. Here in my city, we've got a bad tenants list that's unpublished, but people have access to it. Their names weren't on that, so that's good. I checked a couple other things, couldn't find anything about these guys. Facebook was, oh, okay. Found one of them on Facebook, and it's kind of like, not sure that's the kind of activity I would want going on my property. When I was on the website of the rental agency, they listed out all the different buildings they had, and they gave a separate number for each building. So I figured out which building she was in and called that number, and it was a guy's cell phone. And I said, "Hi, I'm calling. So and so is trying to rent one of our properties, and wondering if you can give me a little bit of insight as to how they were as tenants." It was quiet for a second, and he goes, "Do you want me to tell you the truth?" I was like, "Absolutely. Tell me what you know." And so he goes on to tell me that she is a horrible tenant. Um, Gave the key out to random people. Half the time she wasn't even there. In fact, she wasn't even there for 4 months. Rent was coming from a relative for a while, auto deposit, which is, well, that's nice. But this was a recently remodeled. Like when she got into it, it was a remodeled suite, and he said it's trashed. And so we chatted for about 5 minutes. I thanked him, and I got off the phone. It's just like, wow, my gut was telling me something, and now it's just like my gutometer's like way over here, and really all because I followed up on my gut instead of going, okay, they've got $3,000 of cash, and they've got 750 damage deposit up front, and they're ready to go. So that's cash in my pocket. And I've got someone in there paying utilities. But what would have happened 6 months down the road, right? Because my unit is recently remodeled, new flooring, new paint throughout, repaired some of the appliances, got a couple new appliances. And so I would have had cash up front, but then very quickly my gutometer would have kicked me in the gut, going, "You idiot. These people are trashing your place, and you've got very little ability to get them out because they've got a signed 1 year lease and they've paid rent for several months, right?" And but these things happen. So like I want to share this as a warning to you to not jump on someone who says they've got cash or can prepay. Whenever someone says they can prepay, your some red flags should go up for you. And I don't, it might be legit, and that's fine. Maybe it's a national company who rents a suite for their their employees to come through. Okay, that's different. But do your due diligence on whoever it is. Don't jump at the chance just because they've got cash and they can prepay you 2, 3, 6 months ahead. Do your due diligence on them. Dig deeper than maybe what you normally would do to find out, and to verify your thoughts. And either the thought goes away because you can't find anything, or you do find a good reference, or uh, it is verified for you because you find some information on these people that you don't want them as your tenants. So I'd rather have another month of empty house than have to deal with someone like this for 12 months, and potentially months and months of no rent once the initial cash deposit wears off, right? So I've had this one other time on a rent to own where I thought I was doing a good thing, helping a family out, and they had very little money to put down. I was a desperate landlord on this deal. This is probably about 7 years ago, and I learned a lot of lessons from this one. I thought I was helping them out, put them into a rent-own house. They had very little to put down, and I thought, well, it seemed like a nice family, and It's going to solve my problem because I don't want this. We're starting to go into winter. I want this property, um, you know, tenanted, and I want them paying, the utility bills. And so they gave me that little bit of money. I mean, it was maybe $1,000 or something like that. And then also what I require is that they pay rent before they get the key. And so we got to that point where they're ready to move in, and like, oh Cam, something's happened. We don't have the rent, and really upfront, it's like if you want to wait for us to get the rent before we get the key, we're fine. Like they gave me the option. They gave me the option. I said, no, you guys are great. I'll give you the key. And they moved in, and that first month rent, I never have worked so hard to get that. And every month was a challenge to the point where I think by month 6, I think I had collected 4 months of rent, and then it took us another couple months to get them out. What a mess. And they trashed the place in the 8 months that they were there. Oh my goodness. Went in there, my heart sank. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons on that. So learn from my mistakes. Don't do what I did. Don't let people in when they say, oh, we'll have the money to you 3 days after we move in or whatever. It's like, you know what? Sorry, it's happened to me before, and it's just our policy. We must have rent upon receival. Of you getting the key, we must have the rent from you. Be nice about it. You don't have to be whatever, and that's how I am now. It's like, you've got to have that, and so learn from my mistakes. Don't become a tired and frustrated landlord. Be more diligent upfront when you're qualifying a tenant buyer, because you'll be much happier down the road, right? It's either the pain of the discipline now of working very hard at finding a great tenant. Maybe it's going to take you a little bit longer and a little bit more work, or you're going to have the pain of regret by putting someone in there quickly and having regret 6, 8, a year down the road. So learn from my mistakes. Hey, if this has been helpful for you, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Would love to have you a subscriber of my channel. It helps my YouTube algorithm, and also gives me feedback on what videos are liked and not liked, so I can produce more valuable content. All right, take action.